Nancy Kiernan, your International Living Colombia correspondent. And today I'm going to talk to you about the cost of living in Colombia. Well, that seems to be the big question. People will say, so how much does it cost to live in Colombia? To which I often answer, so how much does it cost to live in the United States? The answer is it depends. It depends on where you live, it depends on what type of lifestyle you like, so there are many variables. So we'll do our very best to talk about, in general, what some of the costs are in various regions of the country. So why don't we start off with Medellin, which is where I live. Medellin is the second largest city in Colombia, and it is one of the fastest growing expat locations. So you can rent an apartment, an unfurnished apartment, anywhere from $400 a month to $1,000 a month. Now, of course, you can find, huge penthouses or, large homes up on the mountainside that you can rent for a lot more. But on average, in the expat-centric areas of the city, you would probably be able to find very nice apartments anywhere from the $400 to $1,000 range, unfurnished. Now, if you want furnished, then that's going to be a little bit more, and I would say it's probably between $700 or $800 to maybe $1,500 or more. One of the great things about Medellin are the utilities are very low. Because of the climate, because we are the city of eternal spring, so we don't have heating and we don't really have air conditioning, so your utilities are quite low. And these are my actual numbers from last month. So the electric bill, my electric bill is $32 a month. My water and sewer is $16. My gas, which I use for cooking and for heating hot water, is $5 a month. I pay $14 a month for my internet, $9 a month for my cable TV, and $15 a month for my cell phone. And that has 9 gigs of data, unlimited calls, unlimited text, local here in Colombia, and then 300 minutes of international calls that I can call the United States. So all of that for a whopping $15 a month. I think my last cell phone bill back when I lived in the States was probably in the vicinity of $120 a month. Another great thing about living in Medellin and that makes it inexpensive is your transportation costs are quite low. Because of the metro system and because of the bus system and all of the taxis and Ubers, you don't really need to own a car. So all of those types of expenses, the maintenance, the gas, the insurance, the registration fees, the driver's license fees, all of that are gone. I don't own a car. And so I pay about $50 a month for transportation, and that's mostly for taxis and metro. So I can go pretty much anywhere I need to go in the city, and it, on average, is $50 a month. So if we talk about some of the discretionary funds, well, what is that? Well, that's your groceries and your entertainment. Well, you say, well, groceries isn't really discretionary because you need to eat, but it depends on what you want to spend your money on and how you want to spend your money. And this is true for any country in the world, including the United States and Canada. So, if you want to buy local foods, obviously the fresh fruits and vegetables are very inexpensive. I think the last time I bought carrots, they were like 8 cents a pound. So, very, very inexpensive local produce, local meats and other proteins, fish, chicken are very inexpensive, maybe $1 a pound for hamburger, that type of thing. But if you want to have some of the more imported and upscale things, then obviously that's going to cost you more. And also products that you might be used to in the United States are considered imported here, so they're going to be more expensive. So for example, a can of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup is probably going to cost you about $4. Which is quite high, but again, it is considered an imported item here. So, the type of food that you choose to eat and the level of specialty type foods will impact your budget. Now that doesn't mean you have to eat just rice and beans in order to get by. I eat a pretty varied diet. I use the local produce, I buy the local proteins, I buy some of the imported things, I buy wine, which is almost always imported because Colombia is known for many great things. Wine is not one of them. So most of our wines are either from Chile or Argentina, and so all of that. So if you look, so my budget on average is about $300 a month for groceries. And then if I add to that another $150 a month for entertainment, and that would be, you know, that would be eating out, that would be going to movies, that would be going to concerts, all of that. So that's about $150 a month is what I spend on my entertainment. Now I can go to a first run movie in English with Spanish subtitles and pay about $4 for a ticket. So so your entertainment costs are not necessarily that high. One of the other things that is great is the healthcare here. Once you live here full time and you have your cedula, which is your national ID card, you can sign up for the local health insurance, and you will pay anywhere between $30 a month and $80 a month. It will depend on whether you're here on your retirement visa or if you're here on an investor visa. It depends on how much income you have to declare in order to qualify for those visas, which is why there is a difference in the price. But what I pay $75 a month for my health insurance premium. Now, if you choose to buy your home, then of course you don't have to pay rent, but you will have some monthly carrying costs. And these are my actual costs. My HOA fee, which is the Homeowners Association fee for my apartment, is $165 a month. And what does that cover? Well, we have a pool, we have 24-hour security, we have maintenance, we have yard work, all of that. Because I live in a condo complex, obviously I don't have to cut the grass, I don't have to weed, I don't have to scrub the sidewalks, I don't have to put out the trash, I don't have to do any of that. So all of that is included in my homeowner's fee of about $165 a month. My homeowner's insurance is $515 for the entire year, which is pretty darn good. And the property tax, which I know there are places in the United States, and I actually lived in one of them that had what I considered a pretty high property tax. I paid $745 for the entire year. Now I live in a 3-bedroom condo, about 2,200 square feet, with a very large terraza in one of the more upscale areas of Medellin, and my property tax is $745 a year. So on average, in general, what I pay here in Medellin is about 60% less of what my costs were when I lived back in Maine. A few things came right off the top. For example, about $6,000 a year for oil heat. Because of the climate here, you do not, obviously there is no heat, and you don't have to have air conditioning. Some people do, but you don't have to. So some of those things came like right off the top. Another thing is your clothing. When you live here in Colombia, regardless of whether you live in the mountains where I do or on the coast, you're going to have one set of clothes. If you're from any of the northern parts of the US, in Canada, you have seasonal clothes. So you have those boxes and bins of the off-season clothes that you store in either on the top of the closet or under the bed or down in the basement. And so you don't need to buy multiple seasons worth of clothes. You wear the same jeans and t-shirts until they either wear out or you get sick and tired of them. So your clothing allowance tends to go down. Also, it's a more casual lifestyle, so you don't have to have dress-up clothes. You don't have to have suits. You don't have to have cocktail dresses and all of that. You just have basic, average, everyday casual clothing. So a couple other areas in Colombia that have similar pricing to Medellin, but a little bit lower, would be in the Pereira area, which is in coffee country, and in Bucaramanga. And there, pretty much everything is very similar in price. The biggest difference would be your housing costs. So as I mentioned, in the Medellin area, you're looking at, for rents, you're looking at $400 to maybe $1,000 a month. And in Pereira and Bucaramanga, you're looking at maybe $300 to $750 a month. So those are a little bit cheaper there. Now, if you choose to live on the coast, for example, in Cartagena or in Santa Marta, Cartagena is more of a tourist area, so things tend to be more expensive there. Housing is more expensive, and eating out in the restaurants, because they cater to the cruise ship tourists that come and the other tourists that come. Those costs can be higher than they would be in Santa Marta, which is another coastal city just down the road, about 4 or 5 hours down the road. So what the difference between living on the coast would be your utilities. Your electricity is probably going to be much higher. As I told you, I pay about $30 a month for my electric. You're going to be spending upwards of $75 a month or more, depending on how much you choose to use your air conditioning. Also, your water and your sewer costs are going to be higher because of the coastal situation. But the rest of your utilities, your internet, your cable, all of that will be very similar to what it is in the rest of the country. So, can you live on the cheap? Of course, backpackers do it all the time. They come, they live in hostels, they go to places where they only serve the menu del dias for, a couple bucks. They walk everywhere, or they take the bus, which is maybe 75 cents for a bus ride. They don't take taxis, and taxis aren't even really all that expensive either. Here in Medellin, my average taxi ride around the city is probably between $3 to $6. I can go pretty much anywhere I need to go in the city for between $3 and $6. So you can live, even less expensive than that here in the city. Now, you move out into the countryside, either in the outskirts of Medellin or in the outskirts of any of the major cities, and of course prices go down even more. So you could probably live for 80% less than what you're living for in the United States, depending on where you are in the States. If you're living in a small little rural town in the US, the price differences might not be so much. But if you're living in LA or Miami or New York or San Francisco or Houston, then you're going to see a significant decrease in your monthly expenses. We at International Living often say that, we talk about places where a couple can live comfortably for $2,000 a month. Well, I live as a single, and I'm hard pressed to spend $1,000 a month. It's for my food and my utilities and my transportation and all that. It takes effort for me to spend that much per month. So I hope you've enjoyed this. You can go to the International Living website and click on the countries tab and look for Colombia and click on that. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you will find links to many of the cities, many of the larger cities here. And those links will give you an overview of the city, and there's a sample budget there, so you can find out on average what it's like to live in Bucaramanga or in Medellin or in Cartagena or Santa Marta. So you can get a general idea of all of that. So I hope you found this helpful and informative, and I look forward to seeing you again in future videos. Hasta luego.